It's also tiresome. It's also tiresome. I feel like the sun has gone down. Now it's nighttime. This is like a daytime. I feel like we're doing a daytime task. Like a first part of the day. Like, oh, I'm going to learn something and digest some information. I'm in the kicking back. Like that Tokyo Nights song. With Tokyo Dreams. Tokyo Fantasy. That's such a vibe. And then this is too much of a contrast. It's all these spaces about like Christ is king, and now I got to listen to this Jew telling me the Bible's a myth. It's my fault. I get to curate the content on the stream. It's just not doing it. I need to pray. Lord Jesus. Lord God, please give me an idea. How can I salvage the stream with a better vibe? What's a better thing to do? What can we do right now? Lord, inspire me. Lord, send your Holy Spirit and your guardian angel to protect me from the cringe and the boringness of this boring Bible segment. Forgive me for thinking this was a good idea. I'm having second thoughts, and I'm realizing maybe I was influenced by Satan. Maybe Satan clouded my mind to think that A-logging the Bible was a good idea for this moment. I'm seeing now the error in my way. Please set me straight back onto the path of righteousness and Kino content. This is too cringe. Send a messenger to help me back into something way more Kino. This is fake and gay, and I'm not feeling it. Send an angel to give us a vibe check and fix the stream. In your holy name we pray, amen. Amen. And now we wait. Carlin's here. Hey, Carlin. What's up, sweetness? What's up,
Hunter's
girl?
a laptop sent $7.
Is Hunter's laptop an angel? Did he send us some content? It's more suicide voice. Let's go. Okay. Carlin, I was watching your stream earlier. And while you're totally right, yes, this is going where it sounds like it's going. I just want to say, Nick is actually what they call anti-Semitic. And that's the problem. I'm not saying that's inherently a problem, but the problem Nick's facing now is that he's trying to pretend he's not. And he is. So, I don't know. I just want to know what your thoughts are on that, actually. Because he is what they say he is. That's the problem. The problem is he is what they say he is. And to me, that's not a problem, but that's a problem for him because he's in their world. They control the media and the narratives and stuff, and you're not allowed to be who he is. So he's pretending he isn't, while winking to everybody, letting him know that he is, but then denying that he is what he is when he is, though.
The worst part about hell is not the flames, it's the hopelessness. And I think that is the hell that a person in depression.
So, since I love you, since I'm your side, I'm your side boyfriend, because I know Nick's your real boyfriend and you're cheating on
Waffens
him with me.
$7.
I don't want to see you. I don't like to see you try to unironically defend him from being who he actually is. If you're helping run cover for him, that's cool. And I'm with that. But I want to know that you know. And that's all. If you're intentionally running cover for Nick, please go ahead. Fine. You want to come on and discuss? Yeah. Is that the answer to the prayer? Jesus sent me Carlin to rescue us from the cringe. Some Kino? She's the angel. Let's go. Carlin's the angel. Thank you, Jesus, for answering my prayers. I knew that you would come through for me. Yeah, dog. Okay. Let's see. What was I saying? What are we talking about? I mean, I remember, but did you watch the first bit of the show when I was remarking on Nick's show from last night? How long were you
I didn't, because I was doing. I haven't been watching for that long. I literally just tuned in.
Okay, perfect. All right, recap. So here's my opinion.
Okay.
After the space last night and all that, Nick is kind of caught. He's kind of exposed a little bit, in my opinion. And in a way, it's what he's done is good in service of shifting the Overton window, pressing the idea that there is a Jewish ruling class or controlling power. There's some sort of mafia that controls the media and a heavy hand in the politics and all that. That has been pushed by the Christ is King situation with Candace and all that. And the problem is that since Candace has started saying the slogan that Nick and the Gripers have, which is Christ is King, nobody else really says that, by the way. It's not like a traditional Christian or Catholic thing to go around saying Christ is King.
Yeah, but Eastern Orthodox people say it, don't they?
Not really. No, not really. Not in my experience.
I know some Eastern Orthodox people who say it.
They say it as a slogan?
Yeah.
Are they Gripers?
Oh, yeah, that's actually a fair point. Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
No, but I was asking Victor about this, and he said it was an Eastern Orthodox thing too. And he's not a Griper. He doesn't care about any of this.
Who's Victor?
My husband.
Oh. So
the Ukrainian.
He's in Ukraine. They say Christ is King as a slogan when they interact with a Jew.
I don't know. Well, I'm not saying they do it when they're interacting with a Jew, but just in general in the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll speak for only myself. So I've been around, I'm in America, specifically California, but I've known Christians my whole life. Most of them are some sort of Protestant evangelical type. Not a ton of Catholics. All the Catholics I know are Mexicans, by the way. Like every single one of them until I met Nick and the Groypers. So I know there's more East Coast Catholics maybe, and there's Catholics in Ireland and stuff, but most of the Catholics I know are Mexicans. And so it wasn't a big surprise when I met a guy named Fuentes, who's a Catholic, but he's Italian or whatever and from Chicago, and that's fine. But I've never encountered anybody in my life who said Christ is King as a slogan for any reason until I met the Grapers. The first time I ever heard it in my life. And I think there's a lot of Christians who will agree with, like Boring said yesterday, that there's a denotative and a connotative difference here. Like the words on their face is Like, it's in fact true to a Christian in their world perspective, yes. Just like Black Lives Matter, on its face, it's like, yes, Black lives do matter. Of course, who could disagree with that? But when somebody says Black Lives Matter, we know that what they really mean is fuck white people. Or something like that.
That's not what they really mean, but we probably shouldn't get into that argument right now.
I know that there's something deeper than that too, that's even more encrypted in the meaning, right? But what they really mean is fuck whiteness, which really means capitalism, right? Something like that.
Yes.
Yes. See, I've been paying attention.
Exactly.
But let me say this: the reason why when white people get pressed with, well, do you think Black Lives Matter? And then they say, well, all lives matter, and they don't want. The reason why white people don't want to say all lives matter or Black Lives Matter, it's not because white people are defending capitalism. It's because when white people are faced with a black person who's saying Black Lives Matter, what they feel, what they are hearing is fuck whitey. And even whitey itself represents institutional racism and capitalism or something, to the socialist progressive activist. In their vernacular, that's what they mean, let's say. But when a white person hears Black Lives Matter, what they really hear is fuck the police, fuck Donald Trump, fuck white people. That's what they hear. Mm-hmm. And so in the same way, Christ is king, when Nick and the Groypers say it, just like what I'm saying is the quiet part that's not being said out loud with Black Lives Matter, the quiet part, whether you're saying it means fuck capitalism or fuck white people or fuck whiteness, there's a quiet part that's not being said out loud. What gets said is Black Lives Matter, but the quiet part is something else. In the same way, when Nick and the Groypers say Christ is king, the quiet part that they're not saying is you fucking Jew. Like that's the quiet part. And they do mean that when they say Christ is king. And that's why that Christian girl that was in there, I don't remember what her name is, you probably do. I think she's the one hosting the space, but she was like, Nick, when you say it though, I agree with you that Christ is king because I'm a Christian, but when you say it, are you like evangelizing? Or are you saying it in a Jew's face to say fuck you to him? Because I'm not with that. And I know that because you just went on this whole like monologue explaining that the reason why it's important to say Christ is king is to expose that there's a Jewish power control system. So even in your own explanation of why you're saying it, it seems to be that you're using it as a political slogan, which sort of is exactly what Jeremy Boring's saying, which is that you are taking the Lord's name in vain. You're using the name of God as a political slogan, which is like one of the 10 commandments to not do that. And you're doing it. And you're calling yourself a Christian. You're taking God's name in vain. You're shouting Christ is king in a Jew's face. It seems like an encoded, like, the quiet part is fuck you, you Jew. And you're doing that in Jesus' name. Like, even if there is a Jewish power thing, this thing you're doing with the Christ is king thing, it feels like not very Christian. Feels like
well, yeah, but
an anti-Semite.
Haven't we previously agreed, though, that we don't really think that Nick's Catholic LARP is real anyway?
Let's take that. Let's leave that. Let's put that right on the table and let's go ahead and move on, assuming that, okay? Because let's say we both agree on that and we both know totally for sure that he's just a full-blown grifting LARPer, right? And his Catholic thing is just a LARP.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I guess my response to it is like, I don't care. I don't care if like what he means with this. And I tend to agree with your analysis on it, but I think it's a rather brilliant way to expose an inherent truth that needs to be exposed. And if he needs to piss people off or make people say things that sound crazy in order to do that, I think that it gets the job done. And so, yeah, right. Do I understand he means what you say he means? Yeah, of course I understand what he means. But I also think it's a brilliant marketing strategy, and you can't fault him for that.
I'm saying the same thing. Like I said about shifting the Overton window, that's just the way I'm referring to it. But everything that you just said, that's what I mean by that. It's a marketing strategy. He's forcing a conversation to happen that's sort of being shut out. So he's jamming that into the parlance, right? Christ is king, you fucking Jew, which is the quiet part that he doesn't say. So it does work it's practical, it's effective. However, it's also it's also been called out, though. That's the thing. It's now that's what we're experiencing. It's Jeremy Boring, Daily Wire, and probably others are going to start coming out and identifying that it's sort of like it's correct. It's not exactly a dog whistle. I don't know if that's the right thing to call it. But until there's another better word, like it literally is, though, like that there is a quiet part that's there's a message being transmitted that you can't hear unless you have the ears to hear it, like a dog, right? So it is a dog whistle, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess, and Lauren Chen mentioned this in the space last night, has it been called out? Well, sure, but no one would come on that space and defend the idea that saying Christ is king is anti-Semitic. Even these people that were complaining for days on Twitter, all day, every day, would not come on the space to say so. They all chickened out. And so, it kind of seems as though Nick is winning on this round at this point because people sound stupid when they speak up against it.
Do you think that will last? I wonder.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't underestimate how stupid the masses are anymore. And I think it depends on like how much do people really want to commit to the Daily Wire? I think it was far more offensive, honestly, to hear Jeremy Boring say that he wouldn't employ anyone that didn't agree with him on Israel. I think that's far more problematic than Nick using Christ as king in a certain way.
Well, even though we would disagree with their position on Israel, why is that problematic?
I think that was genuinely shocking to a lot of people. I really do. I think
for him to be exposed that way, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think for him to admit that, I think that, from what I've heard from just kind of like normie conservatives, is they were really like taken aback by that.
Yeah, I wonder if they will be. And maybe they will.
I mean, I think like my experience just in kind of like MAGA circles and like normie conservative circles is a lot of them, and I don't mean this as insulting, although it's probably going to come across that way, like they're simple people. They kind of interpret things at face value, and it's not like they're dumb people. I think if they focus on something, they can understand it. But if they're just not paying attention, they're not paying attention. And I mean, I understand the not paying attention because there have been things that I wasn't paying attention to that I understood in a different way when I wasn't paying attention than when I started actually looking at it and examining it. And I think it's one of those things that the vast majority of the conservative base is not paying attention to this issue. They have not been paying attention to this issue. And I think October 7th did start to wake people up and get people to start asking questions. But most of them are still really unaware of how powerful this lobby is in terms of their politics. And I really don't think they understand how captured their own side is. And so to hear Jeremy say, we will not employ someone who does not take this position, I really do think that was very surprising for people.
Interesting. I'd like to hear the feedback on that. I wonder if we could get some sort of sample of what's the impact on hearing that news among the Daily Wire subscribers. How do we get that clip out? Make that, increase the awareness. Because, I mean, a certain amount of people heard that in the space. But if he's got millions of subscribers and, like, even if 10,000 hear it, that's still drop in the bucket.
Oh yeah, I mean, ultimately this is not going to get to most of the Daily Wire's people because the Daily Wire is all they listen to and all they pay attention to.
So this is kind of where I'm looking at it from. It's like, all right, so this might be sort of like an interesting revelation that Nick was able to squeeze from Jeremy Boring. He said the quiet part out loud too. It forced him, which is that, yeah, you can't work here if you don't agree with me on Israel. And it's an Israel support platform, and that conversation with Shmuley turned into, if you don't support Israel, you are an anti-Semite. If you're sort of anti-Zionist or something, if the Jews don't like you, you're an anti-Semite. So it's got real interesting. But let's see a person like you or me, but let's say you, if you're covering Nick, I don't know if I don't want to quote you exactly, but I heard you say something like that Nick isn't what they said he is, and they fired him unjustly from Daily Wire or something, or from the agency that he worked at.
No, I mean, I guess my position on it is, okay, so first of all, with that stream, like, my priority on that stream was not to defend Nick. It wasn't to, but it also wasn't to drag Nick. It was to drag Carrie. And I when I do a Carrie stream, everything is subservient to dragging Carrie and like embarrassing her as much as I can, because she's made my life very, very, very difficult. And so, I understand why it may seem like I was like covering for him, but it was just like, I don't know, like that was just the mindset that I had. But also, it's like, I really do have a lot of sympathy for Nick. I mean, you know, I can't imagine that it was easy at 18 years old to just be asking questions because you're a stupid, naive 18-year-old not understanding how the game is played. And then you start asking these questions, and then all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro is dragging you on his platforms for it when you have nothing. You're a college student, you don't have any connections, and he's trying to destroy any ability that you have to have a career doing this thing you want to do. And you know, I mean, and that's just continued. Like, I really kind of like, I've been dragged by conservative media. I got canceled by PragerU. Like, I've been through all this, and I know how jarring it was when it happened to me, much later in life than like 18 years old, right? So I look back at like how he's been able to survive and how he's been able to kind of build what he has, and it's actually really impressive. And you can say that regardless of whether or not I agree with him on everything, or regardless of whether or not I think he always makes good decisions, or any of the other drama. And so that's kind of what I was talking about. It's like, I really do think that conservative media has fucked him over to a really great extent, and I think that has to be kind of factored into the equation.
I think it's true. I don't know how right you are. You could be, but I don't know how right you are about the assumption that Nick was sort of naive back then. Nick plays that up. The way he tells the story is that he didn't really know, and the way he said it to Jeremy Boring last night was sort of Nick's a little duplicitous in that way. He'll say, like, "Oh, I was just like you, and I was saying all these things, and then I started asking this one question about the money to Israel. And it was so innocent, and I was young and innocent, and it's like I stepped my foot into a bear trap, and you guys just like took my fucking foot off, and it was so mean of you." And that's when I began to see. I don't know if it was exactly like that or not.
Do you know any 18-year-old that's not naive?
Well, Nick is still naive.
Well, yeah, he's 25. Yeah,
and that's my point, is that he's naive now, and he was naive then, but he also knows a lot now, and he knew a lot then, and he also plays dumb now, and he's playing dumb about back then. And like, they'll bring up the Cookie Monster joke, and he'll say, "Oh, that was just a joke from the chat, and I was reacting to a super chat. They tried to paint me into this Holocaust revisionist, and they're so unfair." But he is a Holocaust revisionist, and he knew exactly what he was saying, and he was playing into it because it's funny, and he was joking about it, not just to be irreverent, but he actually, like, he pretends that he doesn't mean it when he gets in trouble. But he does, and that's the quiet part out loud. It's always a covert, hidden thing that he's trying to do. And it is effective, like you said. He is succeeding with that strategy. But the people that that support him, like he's playing a very dangerous game, and it's like that's not going to go all the way to the finish line. It's going to change conversations and be very interesting. And if you want to throw yourself into that lion's den with Nick, you should do it with full awareness. And
I'm not throwing myself into anything. I don't think I'm throwing myself into anything by saying that I think Nick got fucked over. I mean, do you think I'm throwing myself into something by saying Nick got fucked over when he was 18?
Maybe, yeah, because essentially it's sort of like you're doing the pretend with him. If you start pretending with him, then you're an accomplice.
I don't think I'm pretending though. I actually think he got fucked over when he was. I mean, like I just cannot see a reality, and I don't care how smart Nick is. Like when you're 18 years old, you're stupid. When you're 25 years old, you're stupid. And I think that like and especially when it comes to the political machine, I don't think anyone can really understand what this is until they're in it and they've had experience with it. And I also think that Nick is a Leo. He's very fiery. Like he's gonna shoot first and ask questions later. Yes. So I understand him in that regard. And I just don't see a reality in which he wasn't naive at 18 years old and he knew exactly what he was getting into and exactly what he was doing. And I think we should be able to say that. Like, I think it sucks that, I can't say that I don't think an 18-year-old should have been dragged by Ben Shapiro for asking questions and have that, forever associate me with everything Nick says and does.
See, the way I'm even seeing it now is that that's like the Christians. It's like the Groyper saying, hey, it sucks that I can't say Christ is king. I'm a Christian. Like, well, what goes with that is that you're actually saying that there's a quiet part that's not being acknowledged and saying, so, you say, I think it sucks that an 18-year-old you've got that. Yes, but also, didn't know. It's like you're an accomplice and you didn't know. So, maybe we should go easy on a kid, but also, if that kid knew what he was doing, also 18, he's grown up. He was doing, like if you commit a crime as an adult, you get tried as an adult. It's sad, and a lot of 18-year-olds are naive, and they're not thinking about the consequences for their life, and they're hopped up on testosterone, and they, whatever. But if you do a crime, shoot somebody, you kill somebody, you break into someone, you break the rules, you get tried as an adult at 18. When his mom comes out and says, oh, he's a good boy, he didn't do nothing, he didn't mean to shoot him, let him go, Tyrone didn't do nothing. It's like, hey lady, it's sad that your son's going to go away 10 to 15 for that felony. And he was up to no good. And maybe you should have raised him better or something like that. So, and I'm not saying Nick is bad for what he's doing. I don't want it. The thing is, he is, let's say he's telling the truth in a land where it's a crime to do that. I'm not saying he shouldn't tell the truth, but I'm saying if it's technically, it's a crime against the public conscience to speak out against the rule. It's a thought crime. And so, if you want to sing along with him in his song that he didn't actually do the thought crime, they're kind of stooping for him, and like you do become an accomplice in the crime in the eyes of the public. That is an actual crime. Like they will say, oh, you're defending Nick and pretending to get into this crime. You're actually...
Yeah, but the thing is, I've been labeled as an anti-Semite since December of 2021 when I had a tweet taken out of context and then got dragged all over Twitter and got a hit tweet tweeted about me in Newsweek and had fucking Ian Miles Tong, who I've never even spoken to, commenting on my mental health and all this stuff. And so it's like, and that was before I even cared about any of this or was paying attention to any of this. And so, if they were the ones that started this fight with me, and it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth that I can't speak up. Well, I mean, I can do whatever I want, but like that, the threat, and I'm not suggesting you're making a threat, but like the threat from society or whatever is, how dare you speak up for this 25-year-old who is just expressing an unpopular opinion, and now we're going to label you as an anti-Semite too. Well, guess what? You guys have been labeling me as an anti-Semite for fucking years. You guys have been labeling me as a pedophile because I had a friend that went to prison for something he didn't do for fucking years. You've already done it. So at this point, there's nothing else that you can really do to hurt me. And I'm completely grassroots funded with all of my own stuff. And so what's really going to happen? I'm not going to go to any of Nick's rallies. I'm not going to be like a speaker at any of his events. I'm not going to do any of that. But it really does leave a bad taste in my mouth that no one can speak up for him without fear of general ostracization. Because it's stupid. Does he have unpopular opinions? I mean, yeah, sure. But guess what? He's allowed to have unpopular opinions, and he's allowed to evolve out of those opinions. And I think that part of the reason that Nick is the way he is because he was so ostracized from the time he was so young in the first place. And maybe if they hadn't pushed him down to the bowels of the internet and tried to take everything away from him, maybe it would be a little bit different now. And I don't know, like, he's 25 years old. He's still going to grow up. And I think he deserves, like, a soft landing when he gets there.
Yeah, I think Nick might have a very hard landing, while he should have a soft landing. But like I said, if you wanna make yourself a guard, do so knowingly. But like Nick might end up okay. He might be good.
Well, guess what? I've already been down that road. I've already had someone in prison for 8.5 years. You know?
All right. Well, then you might be the one. Maybe you're the perfect woman. You're the real ride or die.
Yeah, I mean, well, but like, you know, but Nick isn't committing any real crimes. He's saying things that people don't like. He's doing things that people don't like, and I think the trouble that he's causing on the right is necessary. And am I going to simp for Nick? Am I going to sweep for Nick forever? No, probably not. I'm sure this will last for a couple of weeks, just like it did the last time. And then, you know, Beardson or fucking Wurzelroot will say something stupid, and then I'll get pissed off again, and then I'll go to war with the Groypers again, and we'll all be back at where we were, you know, before all this. Right. But I don't know, like, I feel like, at least from my perspective, I've worked really hard to build up a completely independent platform where I don't rely on one source of funding, and I don't rely on, like, it doesn't matter if I get canceled, I can just set it up somewhere else, or, you know, make money in another way. And the reason I did that is because I don't want people telling me what I can and cannot say. Like, I had enough of that shit in 2020 when I was, like, you know, trolling around like the MAGA movement, where they made it very, very clear to me what the talking points were, what I was allowed to say, what I wasn't allowed to say. And it really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I always said that, like, after the election, I wasn't going to do that shit anymore. And I'm never going to let these people tell me what's acceptable to come out of my mouth again, you know?
Brave. Amazing. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's brave or if it's folly, actually. I don't know if it's brave or reckless. Stupid. It might be reckless. It might be that. But maybe you'll be fine.
I mean, maybe it is reckless, but again, like, my experience with the right is that, like, they're continuing to dox my friend from years ago. Like, it's like, these people just bring up the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I really think that, like, and they honestly still bring up the stuff with Aaron, who's my friend who went to prison. Like, they bring that up more than they do any of the stuff with Nick. And so if there was something else that they could use against me, I'm pretty sure they would have done it by now. But I'm actually, like, really boring most of the time, and I think that most of the content that I make is actually pretty just milquetoast. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think I'm definitely not saying that you should not say what you have to say about Nick, or, you know, like, tone it down. I'm not saying anything like that to you. I'm really listening to your commentary on it, and I'm watching how it went last night, and I've been watching Nick for a long time, and I know what Nick's about, and I've had conversations with him myself, you've seen, and all that. So I'm just saying, he's playing a game that those who get caught up in his game are accomplices in it, and there's, like, it's like an endless sweeping. You got to sweep up the mess. Nick makes a mess, and then you got to sweep up the mess. And so if you, I don't know. I don't know what else there's to say about it, but Nick, I think he's actually in a pickle here. So there's a way to see that it was good. And it's very interesting to see how it's going with the Candace thing and the Jeremy Boring situation. But I don't think he has, like, actually, like, a very strong hand himself. I think it looks like he's had something he's been able to use so far, which is the Christ is King deal, because it was under the guise of we're just young Christian guys who care about Christ and we're a religious movement and all that. But now that's been spent. Like, that got used. Like, he threw the spear, it now hit its target, and we're seeing the target of that attack get hit by it. But I think it's the type that if it doesn't kill the beast, then the beast now lived and strikes back, and also the spear is gone. So now Nick is actually in a spot where it's time for the opponent on the other side of the chessboard to make their counter move to Nick's move. And it's really like, it's an interesting spot. We'll see what they do. Not to say that they're going to strike at Nick and try to like arrest him or take him down or something. But I mean, what can the Groypers do when Christ is King no longer is a dog whistle? Now it's just, everybody knows what it means. And the ADL will, have a field day, and they're going to be, Rachel Maddow will be talking about how Christ is King is the new anti-Semitic dog whistle. And the Christians across the country will the Jews call all of their pastors that are in their pocket and say, you need to come out and say that we are against saying Christ is King like this. This is anti-Christian. This is not us. This is not who we are. And like, Nick might have just like been called on the poker table. You know what I mean? Like, the hand has been shown. Did he have the winning hand, or did he just lose big time? We'll see. But those cheering for it are saying that it was a good move. I don't know how that's going to play out in time as well.
Platypus sent $7.77.
I mean, I don't think any of us know how it's going to play out in time, but I do think that, so what happens if he really gets called on the carpet for it, like, and everyone starts realizing what he's doing? I mean, I think he just changes the language. He does what the left does, which is you just change the language to something else, and you just fully commit to it, and you don't go back on it. But I also think it's an interesting question of what happens, right, when like, if churches have to start saying we're not going to say Christ is King, and then all the parishioners are like, why? Like, I mean, they've done this before. Like, how many different terms are labeled anti-Semitic or white supremacist that it's just absolutely ridiculous that that's what it is. And I think that for normal people, they're going to hear, Christ is King is anti-Semitic, and they're going to go, that's retarded.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I also think there is momentum on Nick's side of this as well. I'm not saying like it's normalized or anything, but I see a lot more people asking questions about this. I mean, even just like in my audience, are not right leaning, and they're certainly not like on the dissident right, but like a lot of them agree with that this is a stupid argument to have, and they've been paying attention to it as well. And I think it's, maybe this is something that can wake independents up that aren't fully committed to this. I don't know, but I think it's a good question to have, and I think it's good that Nick is provoking the conversation. And like I said, I don't intend to be someone that sweeps for Nick. I believe, I meant everything I said in this space. I don't think I was saying anything that wasn't like factually true in terms of like how I perceive things. But
somebody just said something very poignant in my chat. Let me throw this at you before it's gone.
What
like many backlashes Nick gets, I don't think he will be hurt by it, but innocent Christians will be.
How are innocent Christians going to be hurt by this? They can't say Christ is King without getting called anti-Semitic. Well, boo-hoo, you said they're not saying it anyway.
What they're going to do is they're going to get sucked into this thing that Nick's doing, and they're going to think they're part of something that's winning, and they're going to get canceled. They're going to get fired from their jobs. They're going to get looked at funny by their family. They're going to lose relationships. They're going to get disrespected. They're going to go through all sorts of pain. And what's the payoff? Do the Jews then lose? They're all still Christians.
No.
And the Christian fight against Judaism isn't going to win. It's like they're going to get brought into a failing strategy. And who benefits is Nick. Nick will benefit. Nick will get more popular. Nick will continue to be the boogeyman. And a bunch of dumb kids are going to lose their jobs and stuff.
Yeah, but you can always
get molested by Ali Alexander.
Well, I mean, we don't want that, but like, you can always get another job. You can always make new friends. I mean, like when I left the left, I lost a really important business contact because like all of a sudden I was racist because like I was supporting Trump and all that stuff. I lost all my friends. I lost a lot of my family when I left the left. And it's like, you know what? Life goes on. You get a new job. You make new contacts. You make new friends. You figure it out. And I think that, you know, there are a million ways to, I mean, Nick is proof that there are a million ways to survive and exist in the world outside of the system. And I think, you know, if you connect with people who are doing the same thing, is it really all that bad? I mean, you've been canceled off of stuff, right? Like, you're here, you're surviving.
You and me and Nick, we're not like these people I'm talking about. The impressionable kids who have no idea what's going on and they just get swooped up into the thing. Like, you have made your way in it, and Nick has, and I have. But you and I, here we are again. We are the exception to the rule. This is, again, the rule is one thing. You say, but what about Nick? What about you? What about me? A whataboutism literally points at something other than what I'm talking about. So for every me and for every you and for every Nick, there's 100 or 1,000 just spectators who are like, they needed that job. And it sucks now that their mom doesn't want to talk to them anymore. And it sucks that they just broke up with their girlfriend or with their wife or something like that, or like a long-lasting friendship that they had. And for what? So Nick can get more popular or something. I don't know.
All right. Can I ask you something that's going to seem unrelated, but is actually completely related to my answer?
Yeah.
Do you believe that we come into this life with certain lessons to learn, or have, like, you know, we've decided certain things that we want to experience in this existence, in this timeline?
I believe I do. I don't know about you or anybody else.
Okay, so
I have a special life. I am the main character, so I have a very special life and a special path. But everybody else, I don't know about you all.
Okay, well, I mean, I believe that's true of everyone. I believe that, like, I'm sure you are the most special. Of course, you are the number one boyfriend. Nick does not usurp you. You're still number one. But you know, I believe that's true of everyone, and I think that you know, so if you look at it, I mean, this is how I look at it. Like, if a person comes into this life and they've chosen to experience some sort of path where they have to overcome an obstacle, or they have to like the best way to learn the lessons they want to learn is by undergoing cancellation. I mean, this is what the dark night of the soul is, right? It's, you go through hardship. It's a hero's journey. Like, you go through hardship, you have to overcome something, and that helps you become the person that you were meant to be. And you know, I look back over all the bullshit that I've had to experience, and I've had to experience like an epic amount of bullshit, nowhere near what Nick has had to, but just like a lot. And I look at where I am today, and I know that I wouldn't be the person I am today doing what I'm doing if I hadn't gone on that journey of experiencing so much struggle and so much pain and so much, you know, public ridicule and like humiliation and like all this stuff. And it sucked really, really bad when it was happening. But it made me into the person I am today, and I don't think I'd be able to do what I'm doing today without that happening. And you know, I think it's hard to see that when you're going through it, but I think in retrospect you can look back and say, all right, that's actually, you know, it's funny because a week before and some people might appreciate this, some people might not, but whatever. I'm going to tell the story anyway. So, like, a week before they doxed my friend that went to prison to try to smear me, I had a reading with a medium, and it was just something I was doing for fun. And she was in New Hampshire, and like I just met her, just like, she does some stuff on YouTube, and she decided she wanted to give me a reading. And so she told me in that reading, she said, you're about to have basically like a lot of shit slung your way, and it's really going to suck, and it's going to be dark for a long time. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And I was like, what the hell? And then she said, but you need to go through this because it's going to set you up to do something later. So just know that, like, when this happens, like, it's going to be awful, but you're going to get to the other side of it, and it's going to be good when you get to the other side of it. Well, a week later, they doxed Aaron and just like turned his life upside down, and then all that blew back on me, and that went out to millions of people. And I'm sure some people that are watching like know the story, but like the story that you guys have heard publicly is like bullshit. Like it's all bullshit and nonsense, but it still comes back to hit me to this day. And it was so bad and it was so much and it was like overwhelming and it was really, really bad. But looking back now, I'm actually glad it happened because it exposed a lot of people. I now know who I can trust and who I can't. It solidified my community around me because they all knew it was bullshit when it happened. And, there really is nothing else that they can have on me that is going to do remotely amount of the damage that did. And so it really sucked when it happened, but then I was glad that it happened because it made me stronger. And I think that if I believe that someone chooses to have these types of experiences in this lifetime, then there's a reason that it's happening, and there's a reason they chose to go down that path, and there's a reason they chose to associate themselves with Nick, and and they might regret it in the short term, but maybe it'll make their life better in the long term.
It's an interesting way to look at it. It's an interesting philosophy. I think I see it with both sides, though. I see, like, while there's many things, like every mistake I made in my life, not every single one, but there's many of the most valuable things that I have as part of my character and my whatever that I've become now that came through struggle and mistakes that I made, learning the hard way many times, or even just sort of like unfortunate circumstances that were sort of like synchronized. Yeah, that's true. And at the same time, that doesn't mean I want to, like, since that mistake benefited me, maybe I'll do it again, or even worse the second time. Let's double down on that. It doesn't mean I want to go through it again just because it was beneficial, or that I would wish it on anybody else necessarily. So while I agree with you that suffering can make us stronger, and it typically does, especially for those who have what it takes to make it through the roughness. Some people, it just ruins them. Some people, it just sends them off the deep end and they never recover, end up in the streets. They have a life full of regrets. That happens as many times too. So some of us are blessed with the ability to bounce back and overcome, learn and grow, adapt, achieve, go on, advance, all of that stuff. Some people, though, it's just, damn, I really, having one leg, I'm grateful for the leg I have, but fuck, I miss that other leg I used to have. That was really fucking cool when I used to have two legs. Now I got one. I'm a strong person, a strong survivor of an incident that took one of my legs, but fuck that leg I used to have. If I still had that would be sweet. Like, some people are in that spot. So it's, while it can make somebody a great person to have lost a leg, I don't want to wish it on other people to lose their leg just because it'll make them stronger inside, And so,
well, I'm not. Oh, go ahead.
So yeah, there's some people who lost a leg and it's a bummer and they'll just never get it back. And some of these guys, Nick is doing a thing that I think is wrong. And also the other thing is that pretending to not be anti-Semitic is sort of cucked. And I get that there is a optical strategy at play, and it's Nick's strategy, and he thinks it's going to win, and maybe he's right, but also maybe not. Maybe it's a strategy that's going to make him popular, and he's going to have excitement, and maybe it's fun, and that's all good too. But also maybe it's cucked, and it's not really getting anywhere. And a lot of guys are going to lose their legs for a losing war. They're going to lose the war and their leg. Like, Hitler lost.
Yeah.
And Germany got raped and burned, and they died.
Yeah, but they stopped communism from spreading west, didn't they?
That's true, to a degree. However, you're still here fighting it today.
Yeah.
And so it is based, like, a lot of things do happen. So if you're telling me your philosophy is c'est la vie, then that's fine. And if it's like collateral damage is what it is, then okay. And, people are, they're responsible for their own life path, and they all made their contracts before they incarnated here from their higher self. And it's not up to me to decide who should be protected from what. And everybody just needs to it's tough titties if it goes bad for you, young man. That's okay. Honestly, if that's your philosophy.
I mean, I wouldn't say that is my philosophy, though. I don't think my philosophy is c'est la vie. I think my philosophy is that there's a bigger picture sometimes to things that happen in life. And you're right, like, might Nick lose? Yeah, he's probably going to lose. Like, that's the reality. They're probably going to win. They've got the whole system set up. They've been working for this for thousands of years. They're doing everything right, and no one else is really doing anything to stop them. So yeah, they're probably going to win, and they deserve to win. But maybe Nick's journey in this lifetime is to fight the unwinnable fight, and to do it, I mean, with hubris in some respects. And maybe that's what he's supposed to learn, and maybe his followers are supposed to have that lesson as well. But it's funny that you say, like, the losing leg example is like, I don't know if you know this. I was at the Boston Marathon bombing. And so I was very lucky. Like, well, I was about a block and a half. Yeah, I was at it. Like, and we actually were standing like directly across the street from where one of the bombs went off. And it did, and it just so happened, the timing of it, we had started walking away, and we're about a block and a half away from the bomb when it went off. So I was fine. But I actually do know people who, like, lost legs during that, because that was what happened to, like, a lot of people. And there are two different types of people in that respect. It's like, you can be the type of person that allows the tragedy to consume you, or you can be the type of person that, like, you let the tragedy and you let the experience of it define you. And so do they wish they had their legs back? Yeah, obviously they wish they had their legs back. But there are some people who have made a life and have made an existence out of going through that experience, and, sharing that with others, and, helping others learn and grow from that. And isn't that important too? Because, I mean, life isn't supposed to be perfect. Life isn't supposed to be just all roses and unicorns. And if we never went through struggle, we would never learn anything about who we are. And so maybe this is just the struggle that this particular group of people needs to go to. And I do agree with you that I wish people were going into it with more eyes wide open, but I don't agree that I think Nick did have his eyes wide open when he was 18, because I just don't know how that's possible. Like, when I got sucked into this space in 2020, I had no idea. And I had, a pretty full life at that point. Like, I had worked in several industries. I was working with CEOs and boards all over the country. I had built my own business. I had done all this stuff. And so I feel like I wasn't an ignorant person when I got into it, but it was just so out of the realm of what my experience was that I was still naive in a lot of ways, and I still had to learn how it worked. And I just don't know how any 18-year-old without that type of life experience could possibly understand what they were getting into. And so, yeah, I'm sure he wishes he had gone in with more eyes wide open, and I'm sure many people wish that. I'm sure Jaden wishes that, to be honest. Like, many people that have been associated with him that, it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. But maybe that's just the path of growth that they're all on, and maybe they should be allowed to follow that path.
So, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess. So what I'm talking about is not trying to stop Nick from doing what he's doing. I think you know that. So I'm not saying that we can take Nick's path away or anybody else away. Oh, man, we're into the path talk.
We were supposed to have at least several more internet dates before that happened.
we're in the woo here. We're out in the woo.
Yeah.
But what about this? Let me counter you. Let me counter your woo with some hardcore pragmatism. What if it's better for us and everybody else, and part of your path and mine? What if it's throwing Nick to the wolves so that we can all live? What if it's that?
Then maybe it is.
What if Nick?
Maybe it is.
What if Nick needs to be exposed? What if that's part of his path? Hey, enough bullshit, Nick. Hey, Nick, stand on business. Say it like it is. Be real now. You've played your thing. You've played cute. You were a kid. You were 18. That was all charming and hilarious, and you did the cookie joke. But what about now, though? Are you going to keep pretending forever? And why do we got to do that with you? Is that a good strategy? Do we need to do that still? And is everybody going to keep pretending Jesus is real and pretending Muhammad's the prophet? And are we all going to pretend forever? When are we going to stop doing that?
Well, you don't have to do that, though. No one has to do that.
Should we tolerate it?
I mean, you're calling it... Well, in what respect? Like, is he allowed to do what he wants to do? I mean, He's allowed to do what he wants to do. You're allowed to do what you want to do. You're allowed to call him out on whatever bullshit you think you need to call him out on. He's allowed to react in whatever way he wants to. You know? It's all just, I mean, really, you know, we're just kind of killing time on the internet. I mean, we're kind of blessed that we get to fuck around all day on the internet, and this is like literally our jobs, right? And we get to talk about things that are interesting to us and, you know, hopefully connect with people that don't fuck up our lives, you know, dramatically. But you don't have to engage in any of this stuff with him if you don't want to.
Is this true? They're telling me in chat. Carlin said in her stream recently that she had a tarot card reading and the cards told her to defend Nick. She believes that she was her...
that's not true. That's not true.
I didn't know. I had a feeling this was made up.
I mean, I have tarot card readings all the time. I have tarot card readings all the time, but I've never
wait a minute. Am I arguing with Carlin or am I arguing with the tarot cards?
No, maybe I'll ask Joshua to do that reading next time, though. No, that's not true.
That's a good idea. Okay, do that. Do that for me. And if Joshua and the tarot cards tell you that you're on the right track defending Nick, then I won't ask you to do otherwise.
All right. We did actually talk about Nick
cards.
We did actually talk about Nick today. I had a meeting with him. I didn't ask him that, though. I'll have to go back and remind myself of what questions I asked him. You should come on my show with the psychic, and you can ask him all the questions you want.
Oh boy,
we can do a total show on Nick.
That'd be cool. We can have him on.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Good. All right. Actually, yeah, we'll have the chat come up with some bangers, some good questions to ask about Nick and the rest. We'll ask some questions about Ethan Ralph. We'll ask questions about. Yeah. Okay. Can you actually? Let's do that. Let's bring the psychic on.
He doesn't like Nick's energy. He's very adamant to me. He's like, don't trust Nick. Like, Nick sucks. Like, he's not to be taken in good faith. So he does not like Nick's energy at all.
Okay, well, he's not alone.
He likes your energy much better.
Let's go. Yep. Yeah, that's good. All right. Yep, he's a good psychic then. I trust him. Yeah, he's tapped in.
Excellent.
That's good. He's going to get a vibe. All right. Well, so be careful out there is all I'm saying, you know, because, you know, I'm responsible for my girls, okay? And you're one of them, so I got to watch out for you. So I've called you in for this meeting now that you know. Just these streets are dangerous out there, so watch out when you're dealing with this guy.
All right. You're still boyfriend number one. It's okay. I'm not leaving you for Nick or anything.
Well, the way I've been seeing it actually is that Nick was boyfriend number one because you got with him first.
I guess so.
And so I actually like the idea that you're cheating on Nick with me. So I'm actually your side piece that you're scamming with me.
If you want to say that, but Nick's friends fucked everything up.
Well, yeah. So Nick's a dork with dorky friends, and you found a cool guy that you like to hang out with on the side, and you're getting away with it, and it's me.
All right. Well, if that's the story you prefer, we'll go with that. That's fine.
All right. Sweet. All right. If I need anything else, I'll call you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming by.
All right.
That wasn't really like fully developed for you. Okay. So I might have more words on it later, but I'm just thinking on the fly as we watched the space yesterday and I'm hearing Nick's reaction today. And I just think he's in hot water, and I don't think anybody should be jumping in there with him. But we can celebrate that he's pushed the window open and that worked. But I think we should let him be. We should let him sacrifice himself this time instead of everybody else.
Well, like I said, I don't intend to like sweep for Nick forever. Just every once in a while when I think it's appropriate and when I actually think he has a fair point. Nice. And I feel like I've earned that right. I built what I've built so that I could have the right to say, like, I don't care what you guys think. I'm on Nick's side on this. He's actually right. Fuck you. And if I can't do that every once in a while, then there's no point in me having built what I've built. So that's how I feel about it.
True, but I don't think you're being real if you say that he's right that Christ is king. And I don't think, and that's not what you're saying. You're not saying he's right that Christ is king. You're saying that he has the right to say it.
Yeah.
But it's sticky though, because he's also not telling the truth. So you're saying essentially that he has the right to lie, and you're saying that he doesn't even believe it, and he's using propaganda. So you're using a belief in freedom of speech, and you're essentially defending a lying propagandist. And I personally don't agree with that. I don't think that that's what freedom of speech is for. I think freedom of speech is to prevent people from having the truth suppressed. And it's really where it's like a 2 or 3 layers deep, because Nick is getting the truth out in an illegal way. It's like sort of against the rules of social media or any media in the social landscape. And it's the thought police are preventing him from saying the thing. So he's saying something that's close to the truth and he's using an untruth to get there. He's leading people to see something that's true by saying something that's not true. And then you're defending his right to say that thing that's not true because it might lead people to something that is true. And so we're like in a weird area. He has the right to lie if it leads you to the truth. And my freedom of speech defends his right to lie to us all so that hopefully we see what's true. And boy, how twisted it is. I wish we could just say, hey, here's what's true. Can we get somebody who will just fucking say the truth and not a lie? Why are we, we're calling him brave for saying a lie to help us maybe see the truth? What if he just said the truth?
Well, sometimes you have to go at things in a roundabout way in order to make the point bigger than you could have made it in the first place. If Nick just says the truth, like that, like everything ends with that. And I think we all know that and can agree to that. But in the way that Nick is playing it, he has the potential to expose a bigger truth that's actually a more important truth to a larger amount of people. And so isn't that a greater service?
If it works out that way, then I suppose it'll be great. But I'm not convinced. And yeah, I guess that's it. I'm just, and from what we know of Nick, and I used to be in on it. I literally was in on it. Like, I knew that when he said Crest is king, what he really meant was Sig Heil. That's the real quiet part of it. I knew that. And I knew that when he holds up the cross, what he's really holding up is a swastika. I knew that. Yeah. And I was in on it. But then I got to know him and his friends, and I'm like, oh, these guys suck, and they're bad people. I'm not in with them. They're pieces of shit. And so I don't think that this thing he's doing is going somewhere good, because he's not good. I think it's actually going to disaster.
You still watch Nick all the time on your channel. You still, look at the things he's doing. You still air the Twitter spaces. You sacrificed your cozy channel, and I think that was probably the right thing to do. I'm not going to get a cozy channel anytime soon. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think there's a safe amount of distance that people can keep from this and still, observe it and do commentary on it and talk about it without directly involving themselves. Because I agree with you, Nick surrounds himself with horrible, rotten people who are going to get him in trouble if he doesn't fix that whole situation. But again, maybe that's a lesson that he needs to learn in the course of this. And I mean, I don't really think that I'm any more roped. I don't, I guess, accept the notion that I'm more roped into the situation than you are, because you were on Cozy, bro. You were on that platform. You've been associating with these people for years. You've been talking publicly about this stuff for years. I haven't been doing that. And I think that I've been pretty even keeled in my perspective on it. And so, I mean, am I more roped in? I guess I'm asking a question. Am I more roped into it now because I defended Nick getting dragged when he was 18 years old and the bullshit that the conservative machine has put him through than you are? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that in itself is that damns you or something, but I'm more or less just holding up I'm throwing up a warning, that's the direction of getting roped in. That's in the direction of, and I go, oh, is that the direction you want to move in? How far are you going to go down that road? Is that the position you want to stand on? Because you might be putting yourself in the line of fire that's aimed at Nick. And is that a bullet you want to take? So that's just a consideration. Yeah. And Nick, is the thing. Nick draws fire and it hits other people. And that's just how it goes. And you want to be one of those people. and he's a smooth talker, you know, and he'll tell a tale. And then once you start hearing your words, his words come out of your mouth, you gotta be careful. Because he'll tell the tale like, oh, I was an 18-year-old kid and I didn't know. Yeah, he fucking did. And now if you're out there saying that, you're basically repeating Nick's lie. You're repeating Nick's spin and giving Nick the benefit of a doubt that he's shown us that he doesn't deserve that doubt. Like, we know that Nick does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. Like, that ship has kind of sailed, in my opinion. No, he's actually just weird. He has a weird mentality. He does weird things. He spins the truth. He hides behind all sorts of obfuscation. And then he's always this innocent little victim. And doesn't mean what he said. And it wasn't his fault. And trust the plan, guys. And all that stuff. You just got to watch out. Just got to watch out with Nick. That's all.
Waffens sent
No, I
$7
appreciate you protecting me and wanting to warn me and all. I actually really do. It's actually very sweet. But I also think, like, you know,
big sweetie.
I yes, you're a big softie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like, I just don't agree with the notion that Nick could have known what he was getting into at 18 years old. I just don't agree. But I understand why you had the perspective that you do regarding Nick deserving the benefit of the doubt, and I get it. I think that some of the things that Nick does is effed up. I think he's surrounded himself with bad people. I think that he will struggle until he realizes that his friends suck, and he goes and he makes better friends. But I don't know. I think, and maybe I'll come to regret the things that I've done, but I look at the people that are going against Nick right now, and they are legitimately some of the most horrible people on the internet. Like, I look at, like, Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring and all of the people who I see complaining about Christ is King being anti-Semitic, and most of them are legitimately horrible people who have tried to fuck up people's careers for years, and so are they any better? Like, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, these are people that have canceled me, that have smeared me and defamed me, they've doxed my friends, they've made my life miserable. Nick has never done any of that stuff to me. And so, like, I don't perceive that side to be any better than, I guess, the side that I've chosen.
I don't disagree with any of that at all. I think I would like to see the conversation get hardened a little bit. It's still soft. It's like he has the right to spin the truth how they're spinning the truth, so he should be able to spin the truth too. Or he shouldn't. It's because he was young. We should let him off the hook because he was a kid and he didn't know. Or he's actually just a loving Christian spreading his faith, and he doesn't really mean that. I think it should just be,
if he had balls, he would proudly admit
he didn't say anything wrong, and you were wrong for persecuting him. His age doesn't matter. He was right. Why don't we just say that? Nick was fucking right, though. What's with all the money you send to Israel? I don't think it should be soft like, hey, why did you go after a kid? He didn't know. It should be like, what was actually wrong, though? He was correct, and you fired him and went after him. Vindicated. He was right. You guys are assholes. Fuck you. It seems soft, and maybe that's your way, and maybe it's fine. And maybe Nick's making bigger waves than me, but this whole thing of, he didn't mean it with the cookie joke and stuff. Yeah, he did. And what's wrong with that? He's questioning the narrative, and your number seems like the spooky 6 million number seems kind of, a lot of people say that might not be right. And why are you demonizing him for making that joke about this, religion of the Holocaust that you guys made up for us? Who gives a fuck? More Germans died too. It's terrible. This thing about like the German war machine, like the murder machine for the Jews and stuff. It's sad, but also it's none of our business. And also they were fighting communism, and you're demonizing Hitler too much. Fuck you guys. Knock it off. And I don't know, like we're kind of missing some of the points, and we're focusing on Jesus, and we're focusing on Nick's age, and it's getting weird. And I wonder if it's going to get into this place where, like, now the hero is Candace Owens, who's like, is she even... It's just like all these Christian influence. I'm just bitter, or I don't know if bitter is the right word. It's stuck in my craw a little bit, as you can tell.
$10.
that it's so like the Christian thing is still so Jewy, and like me and Adam Green over here, we're chewing on this bone of like, what's with all the Christ is King garbage that's not going to work, and pandering to a bunch of people who are brainwashed for Jesus with another level of brainwashing. Like, does it never end? It's just like, why don't we just throw another layer on top of that? What if, I mean, is that really the win until we just lose contact with reality completely? That seems like the people we're fighting against win at that point. Like, that's kind of like their end game. That we just totally lose contact with reality all the way.
I mean, wouldn't you argue to some extent you've already lost contact with reality, though? It's like, I think once you've seen things like what you've seen and what I've seen, it becomes very difficult to relate to normal people, right? And so haven't we, to a certain extent, already lost that? But on the flip side of that,
I think that's what I'm lamenting, is that normal people are so not in contact with reality. I don't mean like the NPC reality. I mean the actual reality. That's the win, is when people are here with me in the world and not in mystical Jesus belief land and I don't know. We're gonna vote our way out of problems land and all that stuff. That's where everybody is. It's lonely. Trying to bring.
Well, yeah, but like, would you rather be back in that place though, or would you rather be where you are now?
No, I don't want to go back there. I want to bring them here.
But maybe some of them aren't ready to be here. It's scary to be here. It's a lot. It's heavy. Like, maybe you're built to be here in this lifetime. They're not.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. All right. Well, yeah, you're probably right. But like you said, all right, well, then your argument stands. Well, fuck them then. It's like, well, maybe it'll be good for them. Maybe it'll be hard for them and scary, and they got a lot to learn, and they're going to grow, and they're going to have character growth by being forced into big text world.
I mean, would you prefer, like, yeah, but I mean, maybe like, if you really want to wake people up, like, and bring them into this world, they're going to have to go through some shit, right? Like, I mean, do you remember the cognitive dissonance when you woke up? Like, you can't always have been like this. You have to go through a process.
I was always a little bit like this, but there was definitely also a process.
Yeah.
I was born enlightened. I was enlightened. I was an enlightened child.
Sure.
I was. Cool.
I'm sure you had it all. Well, this is why you have no sympathy for Nick being 18, because you already had it all figured out.
Yeah, when I was 18 and I was up to no good, I fucking knew it. I knew what I was doing. Nick was not some angel he knew what he was doing. He didn't know what the consequences were, and he found out the hard way. But he knew he was doing something. He wasn't just a sweet little innocent victim. Anyway.
No, I mean, no one's really... Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. All right, well, that got a little philosophical there. It was fun.
That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Chat's been distracting us with some good super chats.
I know. I can see them coming through. They're like, they're not digging the woo. That's okay. It'll be good for them.
All right. Well, let this sink in. I have saved you. I saved you. You can thank me later, but I saved you. You don't even realize how much I saved you, but I literally just saved your life. So I love you. I'll see you later.
You're my hero. I appreciate you.
I am. It's true.
Talk soon.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye.
You're welcome. All right, we saved Dr. Carlin. Based